Hello, Prasad.
Hello, Chandraji. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. How are you?
Good, good, sir.
Okay, so it's morning for you.
Yes, it's
9:30.
7:30 a.m.
7:30.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
So
Yeah, it's
that's
a bit challenge, but uh, I thought I should show my face at least, given the
yes,
program that you set up for everybody's sake. So, thank you for doing this.
yes,
Um,
yes. So thank you so much. Such a pleasure to have you here. And like it happens every morning, many
mhm.
people wake up late.
That is true. I'm an early bird. That's the good news.
Oh yeah, that's largely been the ethos.
Yeah.
Uh, and in fact, all successful people, as we like to call them, have been early risers. This been consistent across ideologies.
That is true. These habits come from childhood, right? So, not something that we picked up. And other thing is also work-wise, since I involve in environmental protection, innovation, and entrepreneurship,
Yes,
um,
certainly.
I involve in some global programs. So these are all at different geographies. So there will be obviously meetings. Today I have two, three meetings at the same time. So so I
Yeah.
thought, okay, let's join here and listen to you and learn something.
Okay. Very interestingly, so like you said, there are multiple meetings at the same time on your
Yeah,
calendar.
yeah.
If you look at the superpositions of uh, countries, groups, bilateral, multilateral institutions uh,
Mm-hmm.
around 365 days. There are
Mm-hmm.
hundreds of events happening simultaneously.
Yeah. Too much burnout with the meetings, but I
Yeah.
look into actions, right? A lot of talk, not walk. That is the
Uh,
problem now.
yes, yes. So this is where I like to emphasize on the need for what's called a quantum international relations approach.
Mm-hmm.
So, how it gets applied to streamline our calendars is that, how do we do a wave function collapse of multiple superpositions by, creating a focal point, like the wave function collapse happens on a single eigenvalue. So, through
Mm-hmm.
observation, reflection, introspection.
Mm-hmm.
So, if we truly care for, common denominators of peace, stability, and sustainability,
Mm-hmm.
then we must wake out of our silos, and this is something I like to mention.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hi Sanjay, we've just got started, so welcome. So nice to have
Hi,
you.
hi, Prasad, and hi, Chandra. In fact, I just got out of another meeting. I came in here, guys. You guys are deep in
Okay,
conversation, so continue. I'll
that's
just listen.
precisely what we were
Hi, Sanjay.
discussing, that
Yeah.
there are
Yeah.
two meetings happening simultaneously.
Mm-hmm.
And so it presents very interesting kind of dilemmas. So because we have a commitment, we have a dedication, we like to get involved in as many meetings as possible. But
Mm-hmm.
when you have such a excessive meetings, kind of overlapping on our calendars, then it essentially helps to preserve the status quo. So it cannot bring about change. For
True.
change, it needs focus of our
Focus.
energy,
Yes.
our attention, in a very streamlined way. That is where the wave function collapse strategy that I have adopted in the emails. If you happen to go through the Trumpism vis-a-vis Nazism analogy that I have drawn ahead of the doomsday clock being revised on 27th of January. That's just about 8 days from now. So I am trying to purposefully create that urgency and kind of convey. Uh, Sanjay, I need your special attention on this and on how we can strategize to effectively bring together hundreds of meetings that are happening simultaneously around the world towards common denominators of peace, stability, and sustainability.
See, the problem, Chandra, is that
Yeah,
everybody is
yeah.
talking
Would
the
it be
same
possible to
language,
switch on your
same
video?
intent. Can you hear
Makes it
me?
easier.
No,
Yeah.
my video is not operating, getting on the laptop. So I'm just
Oh,
switching on
okay.
my phone as well. So I'll
Do,
switch
do
over to
do
the
switch
phone.
on your laptop. Yeah. Okay.
Uh,
Please continue.
so I'll continue till then. I'll continue on on the laptop.
Okay.
See, there's like Prasad will also reaffirm from the US, where he's sitting in a completely alien culture. I mean, of course, it'll no longer be alien for him because I think he's been there for 20 years now. How long have you been there, Prasad? You are muted.
Sorry, I'm saying about 25 years.
Exactly, 20, 25 years.
Okay.
And invariably, I think you make it a point to be back in India every at least every 5 years.
No, I'm averaging 1.5 years so far. So
Ah, good, good.
I haven't, I'm not missing much of Indian stuff.
Huh.
On the environment at least, given the political scenarios, industry scenarios, all the hanky-panky stuff, so on and so forth. So
Because
I feel
we
like
I think if I'm not wrong, we met before COVID, right? When did we meet? Pre-COVID, I think.
I
After
think
COVID, or
couple of years
immediately
ago,
after.
couple of years ago,
Oh no, we
during the
met around
protest,
4 years back when we
yeah,
had that coalition of partners,
yeah,
environmental partners.
Lama Khan in
Ramadan.
what is that?
So was it
Telangana,
21 or
uh,
22?
AP. I think it's in 23.
So that means post-COVID. So pre-COVID, even though there was a lot of work that's going on, in fact, Chandra Vikas came to Hyderabad twice or thrice during that time. We
Mhm.
Yes.
picked up the Clean Ganga project, and we had a major showdown with the guys who were actually doing the stories in a place in Haridwar, which was
Mhm.
called क्या नाम था यार उसका? What ashram was
Maitri
that?
Sadan.
Maitri Sadan. And we saw how the entire nation was fooled from day one as Modi came on in the name of Ganga, wanting to clean Ganga and bring back that entire economy to actually service the Bimaru belt. He let down the
Mhm.
Bimaru belt completely, and then afterwards he had these gundas coming on board over there and buggering up the whole story. Then afterwards, trying to move down south, failing, trying to move to Maharashtra, failed first because the
Mhm.
first set of rogues were even bigger rogues than him at that time. That is your Shiv Sena. Then the Shiv Senas he tamed and he broke up that bloody party, and now he is now in charge. To a certain extent, he's in charge, but again, it is looking very iffy. It looks like the Shiv Sena guys will join again and boot the bastard out. So the
Mhm.
story is that what has happened, Prasad, that in the last 15 to 20 years, there has been a steady but continuous degradation of values,
Yes.
and the value systems that our generation was brought on was slowly reduced and mitigated and then rubbished. So to the extent that we are there in the seats of power to be able to actually at least voice our opinion, literally the guys who are there really in power, who are actually having the ears of the masses, have no intellect, have basically gerrymandered and manipulated themselves into positions which allow them to take decisions which are suboptimal continuously, and to the detriment of the intellect that has been established in this country over the years. So they are now
Mhm.
destroying the old intellectual system itself so that there is no
Yes.
challenge for them in the future. In addition to, technology has collapsed the entire story, as Chandra talks about. He has very beautifully integrated the wave function collapse with what is actually happening in society today across the country. It appears to me that over the last 10 years, America has actually taken lessons from Modi's bullshit that has happened in India. In what I'm seeing, what I'm seeing in America in the last after Trump's second tenure has come on board, That bastard seems to have completely fallen into the Modi trap as far as intellectually is concerned. He's actually doing everything that Modi did here in the last 15, 10 to 12 years, 14 years, in fact, when he started his entire campaign with the corporates. And then he has kept moving on ahead as it is, which essentially means that we are now in the hands of the guys who want status quo to continue in this bad state. It is like the
Yeah.
dead cat story of Heisenberg. We are actually, if you open the eye, you will see that the cat is dead. If you don't, you have to assume it is dead. In reality, also it is dead.
Yeah,
So
I
the
want to
story
add
is,
one thing, simple thing, Sanjay, if you allow me. So
yeah, yeah.
this Modi Trump thing happened coincidentally. It's not that one is following the other. These are
No, it
originally like
happened
this, but
coincidentally,
when
Prasad.
this thing,
Please
yeah,
remember, Modi won his elections before Trump. Trump
right,
came, he lost his elections. You had Biden coming in for the next tenure. Modi continued here because he had already buggered up the systems. In
yes,
Yeah,
fact, in
Sanjay.
between, Modi tried to come and help Trump. This bloody
Sanjay,
bullshit that
sorry,
he created over
yeah,
there.
sorry to
okay,
interrupt, but this kind of what I would call solipsism about our respective countries, you would find in around the world. If you look at stories about even France, you will hear large number of French recounting the same pattern. Same about Britain and numerous other countries. So my point is that let's zoom out, let's step back and look at Earth as a whole, because that is where the solutions are. And that is why I'd like to bring back the focus on the title of today's session on how the phenomena of Trumpism is so eerily beginning to resemble Nazism from a century back. And what you call about Modi and his pattern are actually subsets, of the
Of
larger
Nazism.
pattern. Yeah. So Modi, despite being, head of state of a large country, is essentially a small fry in the whole, pan.
Game plan. Yes.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if you look at his actual influence, it has shrunk. Despite India's civilizational status and our rich talent pool, the very powerful, influential diaspora being in the highest income bracket in United States of America. So all things have been kind of drained and diluted by Modi. You are very right about that. In the last about 15 years. Or if you take back from the Gujarat riots from 2002
No,
itself.
because what he has done, what this Nazism version of this Gujarati bugger has actually achieved, it has diminished the nation across the world. Please understand, the NRI
Yes.
today in the US does not have the same credibility or the respect that they had 10 years back. They have now been branded and banded with this bloody jokers who are controlling the entire diaspora as well as the mindset over here, which means the RSS story as well as the illegal story that has fomented with the Nazis thinking at the back end in the last 70 to 80 years has become all pervasive. Keep that in mind. So it is very
Yes.
much in alignment with the topic that you have raised over
Yes.
here.
Yes. And
How
as
do
I
we
shared in
handle
the
these guys
note,
is the challenge. And that is why the diaspora has
yes.
to understand also that they no longer have the same credibility that they had before. They might be having the money, but remember, power and politics come together. Unless they are having an independent view and a mindset over there in building up politics like Mamdani has done and broken the bloody cab, broken the story over there, they don't stand a chance in hell. As simple as that.
Yeah.
And the same thing true with India.
Yes. So,
Please go ahead.
we may spend lots of time recounting the problems and challenges in respective countries around the world. You are very right that though it is very unfortunate that lots of hard and painstaking image building that Indian diaspora did not only in United States of America but around the world has been watered down, by clubbing together into a stereotype called India. So you are very right about that. But the focus of today's meeting is on the larger global phenomena, in which the only resolution is creation of Earth Federation, just as it happened after the Second World War with the formation of United Nations and the UN Charter and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So my suggestion, and so beginning with Prasad, and on a formal note, as we will be sharing the recording with large number of people, that let us begin with Mr. Prasad Jaladi, founder of Suraksha, working for innovation on safety, peace, and sustainability issues. So, can we hear from you on your journey, and how do you think that Suraksha can be a key enabler for Earth Federation and gaining the legitimacy in the eyes of current institutions, power structures, and the 8 billion people of the world?
Thank you so much for the opportunity, Mr. Chandra. Um, my vision in person and also through organization is more or less same. Um, the democracies around the world are actually on ventilators. So uh, youth participation is so low in many countries. So let it be the this is happening because of the change in the perspective of our life, lifestyles, and our work, so on and so forth. So in this, the missing link is also ethics. So many individuals forgot about this thing and running after a thing that would obviously put everybody in trouble. Let it be technology, let it be talk, let it be political approach, whatever it is. So there is no seat for many intellectuals before any government would take a decision. Pros and cons weren't discussed as they used to be done before in many circles. That includes scientific approaches also. So this bothers me also as a person, and also as an organization. I want to motivate youth, telling the uh, reality, what is really going on, including education systems. And what are we doing after getting educated? How much are we spending for a job? And what are we doing to get that investment basically on education, um, to get it back as soon as possible. And one thing adds to the other at different levels. And I put forward a theory called return on investment uh, on education. So we add this cost to our education, and in today's general economy, it is really tough to survive by spending that kind of money in the education. Yes, education is important, but again, then educational institutions are doing business with the people. Forget about the knowledge provision, but what they are doing after gaining the knowledge is another discussion. Other discussion. So the interesting part here is in the run up to the earning of money to survive in this world. We need a lot of money, even though we try to get the return on our education. Uh, so that is thinning the ethics day after day, because we need more money. Look at the inflation. Things were not like the way how they used to be maybe a couple of decades ago. Everything is expensive. And if you look deep into certain systems, um, um, politically also, this is a valid discussion. I think education got costly, healthcare got costly, and minimal living things gotten costly. On the contrary, electronic gadgets and other stuff which are not that needed, are getting cheaper and cheaper, and the industry is set up in a way. It is like a multi-billion industry and industry slash enterprise, gobbling up even the small and medium companies, or maybe the small retailers, maybe even street vendors. In many times, that even happened in India. I'm talking about big wholesalers like Walmart's and other companies in US, and also Reliance and Tata's in India. So they got good money, big money, and they are trying to gobble up the and squeezing the common man's business or life together. So this is an interesting phenomenon that we are rolling into year after year, and here we are. And on top of it, what magically is happening is people are ignoring the environmental part. So um, I want to bring this notion of reminding them about the environment, how much important is that, and at the same time, link common people to the organizations like UN, where we can blame any organization for their abilities or inabilities. It is everywhere. Even within our systems, within our governments, we can always talk about those things. There is no end to it. But my point is, how
Prasad,
do we?
I'm sorry,
That's
I'd
right. Yeah.
like to intervene. Yeah, I'd like to intervene at this point when you say that UN too has its limitations like every other organization. While to a large extent, I would agree with you. But if you look at how League of Nations had to be disbanded after the Second World War, and United Nations came into being, and
Mhm.
the relentless, strife for making it democratic, without the fatal flaws of veto powers and the permanent seats in the apex body of UN Security Council, I think it would be quite tone deaf and really be
Yeah.
very insensitive to
Yeah.
kind of overlook that the UN has summarily failed because of these fatal flaws. So there is Article 6, which talks about that repeat violators can be expelled from the UN member of states community. But there is no
Mm.
way to do that with the veto power hanging on with a rogue criminal terrorist entity, which is essentially what I call the occupied territory of Turtle Islands. So
Mhm.
unless you have clarity, you mentioned about ethics. So ethics needs consistency. Ethics needs clarity. So I don't agree with you that United Nations is in any position to be reformed either internally or from outside because of its inherent fatal flaws. And that is where we emphasize and we are trying to make appeal to wake up to the need for Earth Federation. And we have suggested a pathway through BRICS as a nucleus, as a counterpart to the Western dominance
Mhm.
arising from the global South, as the nucleus for Earth Federation, as well as since you have organization called Suraksha, which clearly means safety and security, both actually.
Mhm. Yeah.
Now, the Suraksha can play a catalyzed role in a very important administration called Novel Earth Emergency Rescue Administration. Now, just briefly, if you haven't had the chance to look through the emails that I have shared, it comes from Earth Constitution, which is today a more valid document than the UN Charter. Earth Constitution is the result, is the outcome of successive provisional world parliaments that have been held so far. The 16th happened just recently from 7th to 10th December in Pondicherry, India. And in the second provisional world parliament, though many of them have happened in different parts of the world, the second one also incidentally happened in New Delhi. And in that, in World Legislative Act 6, the Earth Emergency Rescue Administration provisions were ratified as WLA 6, and it was further amended as WLA 91 in the most recent 16th Provisional World Parliament. So I would like to, explore you and urge you, implore you to look beyond United Nations on how we can together activate, Earth Federation and earn the legitimacy of the requisite institutional and power structures.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you for interrupting me. So, what I'm trying to accomplish here is by bringing the UN into the picture to set a stage where it is also failing, right? Common people don't know these things. We need to win the hearts of common people to achieve anything. This is about the mass approach to empower an action in the righteous way, right? Like how we vote for a right guy. So UN is, in my knowledge, is just an observer. It is not an implementer. Well, it is supposed to be implementing, but who are the funders for this? These rich nations, right? So they have no say, and they lost their tooth, and they are struggling to control anybody. Look at the wars. Look at anything that is happening under their nose. They have no power. Right, so people are struggling, and they are saying stop doing nonsense, but nobody is stopping. So that's their situation. So now coming to Suraksha thing, so the global wellness, I would say, in our context, in other words, comes only from the safety net of several things, right? Freedom and equal opportunity, and of course protecting the environment. How do we do these things? This is two things. One part is common sense, the other part is common good. These are all intertwined to each other, right? So now the key is, how do we engage youth on these things while they are getting educated? They need to know what is going on. They need to know the policies that governments are bringing in for their own for their own from their own constituents. They are they responsibly monitoring the public and private systems that are operating around their places legitimately, legally, or not? So, are they creating other support systems like employment and taking care of people in a constitutional way rather than polluting much? The problem here is other pieces like employment and infrastructure development is going really well, but the pollution increases exponentially, and nobody is talking about these things. This is a dangerous path in my view. So I want to bring youth attention towards these important things because they are the future. Look, we always say, youth is our future, right? When we put youth through these things and in a pollution, undernutrition, malnutrition, and other things, they suffer a lot in the long run. And the notion of youth is our future has its cracks because that's not been actually taken care in real terms. And at the same time, youth should also think about their future and also look around what they are learning, look around what kind of industries they are contemplating or at least trying to work with, or employment opportunities, and which would benefit their regions without any jeopardy in between. And they also understand the concepts of why one particular industry is moving to the other country. They have to understand one interesting phenomena. Most of the products nowadays are not being made in the inventor's country. They are being outsourced. So why that is happening? We've been telling, even in the India context, even in the chemistry context, we are telling ourselves we are great chemists, and we have great organizations like pollution control board, so on and so forth. But look what's happening. US has EPA. Until Trump comes, EPA hasn't allowed many companies to operate um, within US. Even though they are inventors, they commercialize the technology like PFS, right? And of course, there are other things. They are slowly tightening the nose for bad actors when the system knows that this is a dangerous path to go. In between, even on the chemistry side, green chemistry is evolving. biochemical pathways are evolving, but we sit still with the chemistry and we are claiming that we can do anything with our chemistry talent. And guess what happened from West in a smart way? The inventors started outsourcing it to China and India. We sitting on the purposeful deception chair of great chemistry, great talent, youth workforce availability, so on and so forth. We took that rubbish idea and rubbing on our own faces. Okay, and we are using our natural resources. We are polluting the country, and we are exporting, and we are the companies who are operating are making money. And the problem is the PCB in India is not acting like EPA in US. There is no
Yes,
match. There is no match. There is bribing everywhere. And we see all this
yeah,
pollution in front of our eyes. And another
right.
interesting thing is these are all foreign educated industrialists. Okay?
Yes,
And
true. So, I'd again, sorry to intervene. The tendency is to stay closeted inside the sovereign nation states' boundaries. When we narrate our experiences,
Mhm.
without looking beyond and seeing that the same pattern is getting repeated,
Yes.
almost not exactly, but very closely across the world, from Brazil
Mhm.
to South Africa to India, to Venezuela and, every other part of the world. So, can we start looking at connecting the dots? And can we start, Suraksha, be an enabler for the novel Earth Emergency Rescue Administration, which I've shared in the Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam note that I
Mhm.
shared along with the email thread. So, in this regard, we welcome Mr. Ranmal Jhala from the Green Party. Namaskar. And
Namaskar.
yeah, I would like to hear from his experiences on,
Mhm.
like you mentioned, the EPA constantly is corrupt and violates norms. Same way in the
PCB.
CPCP in India.
Mhm.
Yeah. So,
Actually, I joined in very late, so I don't know. Could you give me a brief of what happened
Yeah,
before I
Chandra,
joined?
start with the title of today's discussion. And
okay.
Ranmal, I only pulled him in. In fact, I know that he'll be available at this particular moment. So I just sent him a message. Just mention the theme that you're following and the 5 or 6 talks which are coming. Of course, I did not see the first talk which happened yesterday, I think, Ranmal. Isn't that yesterday, Chandra, or was it earlier than that?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yesterday.
I was on a trek, so I just saw that, and then Chandra reminded me that we have a follow-up meeting today at 7 o'clock. That is how I came to know, and I registered through the Zoom link. So, Chandra, just give a background, plus summarize
Right.
what Prasad has shared from the US perspective as well. See, one of the main things that came out of Prasad's talk was also the fact that he is focusing back on the fact that the real and the correct education being missing. Fascism has become the go-to story as far as the current generation is concerned, because they don't know the reality. And the fact that there has been a transference of the fascism learning that the RSS has inculcated in India back into the American culture, which was already having a bullying story and has created the mess now through Trump in a different way. If, what is it that you are now suggesting, given this chaos that is there? We all know that UN is on its last breaths. It is not going to survive beyond the next few years, because already $2 trillion or $2 billion, I don't know, whatever is the amount that is pending from the US, they are just waiting for UN to throw them out so that they can then cleanly say that we are not interested in being a part of the UN alone, UN itself. So the whole world body goes for a six. Now, what is it that you are proposing in this context, so that we bring back order as well as we bring back humanity as the main focus of discussion amongst people, and get back the right governance, which includes an appreciation of the climate issues, like what Ranmal Jhala has basically done, being able to create a manifesto, keeping in mind the climate issues as a focus, and he has lived his life also in fact in Ahmedabad, where he has being an architect. He's an architect and a town planner also at a background. He's
No,
got
no,
a
no, no, no. I'm not a town planner. I'm a graphic designer.
oh, sorry, graphic designer, but he has written a book on environmental issues. Ranmal, share the link of that. Chandra Vikas should have a look at that
No,
book
no, I
as
have
well.
not written any book. I have designed books.
Oh, I thought you had written that book that you shared with me. Yeah? Anyway, that was a good, well-designed book.
Okay.
Please share
All
that
right.
book
So
with Chandra Vikas.
yeah. So on the first part, Sanjay, so I'm so glad that you are here because you understand, quantum approach to international relations much better. Very few people would be aware with how wave function collapse works. Not just as a metaphor, but in very practical applied terms. Two first thing we discussed is the overlap of thousands of meetings happening around the world on the common convergence of peace, stability, and sustainability. Yet the chaos among these meetings, essentially means that the status quo is preserved. Okay, so yeah. So, I think, in today's world, anyone can familiarize themselves with the nitty gritties of how wave function collapse works. But essentially, it is about multiple superpositions, how we observe them, how we reflect, introspect and meditate to understand that okay, we may be saying in different words, in different idioms, but ultimately our convergence is on peace, our convergence is on stability, our convergence is on sustainability. So in that regard, so that is one level of wave function collapse, to a single focal point of how to come together into a single workshop. And in that, there are limitations that at one time there cannot be more than 20 people discussing. 20 also is a very higher side. Actually the practical number is 12 to 15. So that means that there has to be a hierarchy of decision making. So this has implications. Similarly, the wave function collapse works towards understanding that we need a Earth Emergency Rescue Administration. And very interestingly, this is a part of a legislation called Earth Constitution. So just as we understand UN Charter as a legitimate, agreement, similarly, Earth Constitution has been ratified by provisional world parliaments, and this campaign for global governance is as old as the UN itself. It was the World Constitution and Parliament Association, for example, was started by Philip Iseli in 1958. And in its second provisional world parliament, which incidentally happened in New Delhi, it was inaugurated by the then president of India, Gyani Jail Singh, and the speaker Balram Jakhad was also present. So in that meeting, the WLA, World Legislative Act 6, called Earth Emergency Rescue Administration, was ratified. In the most recent 16th Provisional World Parliament, which happened from 7th to 10th December in Pondicherry, uh, it was amended to World Legislative Act 91. And from that, we have adapted it to practical realities called NERA, which essentially stands for Novel Earth Emergency Rescue Administration. So, my suggestion to Ranmal Jhala would be that, like, you thought of Green Party being part of, bringing sanity into the political chaos. Uh, could you evaluate how Novel Earth Emergency Rescue Administration, which has the legitimacy of the Earth Constitution with it, can be used with its own organization structure, which I share in the second part of the Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam document. If you had a look, or let me just also announce that this is a series of 6 sessions. This is the second session. So, in the 4 sessions to come, maybe we'll be better prepared with reading through how we are proposing BRICS to be a nucleus for Earth Federation from Global South, and with India as its presidency for the year 2026. And the second thing we are emphasizing is NERA. So by bringing the whole conversation to these focal points, and how we multiply from 4 people at present to 16 in the next meeting, and then 256 in the successive meeting. So this is how we will reach out to 8 billion people around the world, and education can be a very powerful instrument to create awareness and to disseminate, especially among the younger generation. But before that, as we heard Prasad and Sanjay yourself, I'd like to request Mr. Ranmal Jhala to share his journey of as an environment activist, as a practitioner, and how he foresees peace, sustainability, and sustainability to come in very near future.
Well, sustainability at the moment seems out of the back door, because I'm right now in Ahmedabad, by the way, and sustainability.
No wonder the drink is not in the hand. Ranmal, मैं वही सोच रहा था साला, how come he is not having the glass in his hand?
Sanjay, I'm sorry, this is getting recorded and this will be shared.
Okay.
So please, sorry. Yeah,
Okay.
continue.
Basically, sustainable cities are a pseudonym. It's not
Chimeras.
possible to have sustainable cities. And the last point in my manifesto, the last agenda is Gram Swaraj. Gram Swaraj is the future, but how do we convince the decision makers? That's the challenge, is to convince the bureaucrats, the politicians, and the citizens that we have to stop. There has to be a limit to the growth of any city.
So Mr. Jhala, are you aware that Gram Swaraj has come up in a new idiom called super blocks, like in Barcelona, and like 15-minute cities in Paris and in Oxfordshire, where it is being piloted. And though I don't condone and everything that World Economic Forum is doing, but I think one of the good things they are talking about is localized abundance and circular economy. So how does Gram Swaraj, connect with the notion of 15-minute cities, compact neighborhoods, transit-oriented development?
I think the air quality index should be a factor.
Yes. So in that regard, as you are aware that in the Netherlands, there is a protest for AQI having gone above 30, whereas we are grappling with AQI levels of near 1,000 in Delhi, National Capital Region in India. So certainly, even by urban standards, I think rest of the world has maintained far better air quality than we in India and in some of the other similar regions.
Out of the 75 polluted cities in the world, 70 are in India. So, and 80 kilometers from Ahmedabad, these jokers in parliament and in power want to set up a smart city in Dholera. There's no such thing as a smart city. Cities are dumb by their very persona, and basically we need to have maximum mofussil towns, population of maybe 25,000 maximum, and there has to be a green belt around it. So I'm planting trees. Basically, I'm planting trees.
Okay. That's so great to know, because ultimately that is where the solution is. Planting more trees. But then the effort also has to be safeguard. Trees that are planted, because government plantation schemes plant on the same spot year after year, as you must be aware of.
Right.
Secondly, the land grab. So how do we get space to not just plant trees, but make sure that the canopy must have unpaved surface under it. So my suggestion to you is that
Acha,
let's open up.
by, by the
And
way, my battery is dying.
okay, okay. So we have our next session tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. This is the third session. Then we take a 1 day break, and then we have three more sessions on, 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. And because of time zones, I've kept it alternately in the evening and in the morning. So once you register for this event, you would see the list of all the six sessions and the timings. So, Ranmalji, would you continue on answering this question, as in how you think that Gram Swaraj in its new avatar of super blocks like in Barcelona, or what Singapore architect Tae Heng Sun, who I happen to have worked with earlier at the Indo-Japan summit. So I think his battery has died
Yeah.
out. So Prasad, would you like to answer this? It's a very important conversation around how do we bring up Gram Swaraj in the new avatar of super blocks and 15-minute cities with population which match what Ranmal Jhala says, 25,000.
Yes. Thank you, Sanjay ji. I would like to make a proposal to have a positive discussion within our group and the message that we send out to the world in a righteous way. Let's not do any name calling, no derogative callings whatsoever, because we have to be role models first, right? So let's build that decorum within the organization, within our team. I know I'm equally adamant and mad, everything, but name calling is not taking us anywhere. We have to be inclusive.
No, can you clarify? Can you be specific so that I can make the necessary
Yeah,
changes?
let's not call anybody beggar or any of that sort kind of thing simplistically to any exploitatory word, right? Um,
Uh, no, can you
yeah,
be specific? For example, I am using the term Trumpism,
Yeah,
which is
that's fair. That's fair enough,
that's
right?
okay.
Right.
That's okay. Okay, all right. That's okay.
I hear from our friends, calling somebody like a beggar, whatever it is. That's not
Yes,
right thing. So
that
we
I
have to
agree with you.
gain momentum, not divisive way, right? So let's not antagonize. We have to be right in the center and spread our wings and take everybody under our wings. That's how it would work. We are in democracy, right? They did wrong things. There is no doubt about it. But there is a way of calling them smartly instead of derogatory way. Okay, so we are smarter than name calling. I believe, right? So let's implement that thing for the sake of the organization, for the sake of our personalities, because we are originally not like that, right? So I
Yes,
hope.
certainly.
Uh,
So coming to the 2 points about how does Gram Swaraj in its new
yes,
avatar globally of
yes,
super blocks like in Barcelona and
right.
15-minute cities like in Paris and in London, in
Right.
Oxfordshire, how do you see the future rolling out? Because global trend is that people don't want to go back to villages. So can we make our cities more like villas and like the rural idyllic pastoralized by carving out spaces using the digital leverage?
hmm Yeah,
Yeah.
so this is a very important question, Chandraji. So we are into urbanization, heavy urbanization, I would say. So COVID taught us one thing. We, right? We struggle to get oxygen. We struggle to get get into medical facilities, so on and so forth. Experts are saying not to do, too much of urbanization, and also, as you know, the statistics say 70% of pollution happens in cities only, right? So, to that extent, um, 20% of cities are emitting the untreated water, sewage, etc., into the streams and rivers around the globe. So this is the pathetic situation of over jamming the cities. So we have this experience, very bad experience. So deurbanization, degrowth is also a good phenomenon to take up right away. The reasons are simple. We are
Yeah,
overburdening the
but
system,
my
and
question specifically, Prasad,
Mhm.
sorry to interrupt. My question specifically is that,
Yeah.
rather than, abandoning cities, can we start, incrementally or, in a big bang,
Yeah, that's where I'm heading. That is
redesigning
where
our
I am
city?
heading,
Yes, yes, please.
Chandraji. My way of doing things is I set up a stage and take it back to the point. So we
Okay.
are in this situation with the cities now. So in olden days, even in the context of India during after independence, Gram Swarajya was the thing, right? That is called decentralization approach also. So the local people in village or panchayat know their natural resources, including water, other stuff, right? So they have created these panchayat at that time intentionally to benefit the villages. And the prosperity of the villages, so on and so forth. And it worked really well for a while. Of course, there is always power mongering. Political parties enter into there, and they do divisive politics. And for several decades, the Gram Panchayat system, even in India, worked really well. And even Gandhiji talked about those things. Look at the small scale industries, right? Like what we call the pottery, the
Cottage industries.
yeah, this is apart from agriculture thing, right? So the water management and the health management and the medical systems, including Ayurveda, etc., they all worked really well at that point of time. Later on, with the industrialization, etc., the government started focusing, snatching away power from them, resources from them, depleting them from the funding also. So at the present time, the situation is like that. Even to get a small thing done, maybe a road, maybe cleaning up the pond or lake or a stream, they need to go to capital of the city, capital of the state. So the Grama Swarajya moved to capital Swarajya. And the budget is there, but they have to beg for their share. It is not autonomously going back to the village treasury anymore. You have to beg for everything. If that's even for common restrooms in building common restrooms in the villages, so on and so forth. So this is very stupid way. We snatched power from them, we snatched resources from them, and we are telling them, hey, you don't have to live here. We don't build any schools or colleges here. You come to city, even for employment. And the industries are created around the cities in a way so that they are not only becoming magnet of employment and too much population concentrations um, are happening there. That is a wrong approach in my knowledge, right? And that's the reason why I went on describing city situation, and now I'm describing the misery of villages. So we have to strike a balance at least, right? So this is important. We have to keep and encourage people to thrive within their regions so that they don't have to migrate. In other words, this is encouraging migration also from one place to other place, right? So agronomy or farming became the lowest interest, lowest thing for everybody. the farming is hard, and the governments are throwing a lot of subsidies for industries, and and so many things are giving. So many things are happening, but a farmer is not getting a reasonable support. So this is because we destroyed intentionally or unintentionally the Gram Panchayat system, and we destroyed their liberty that the Constitution has given to them. So we need to come back to our senses. We need to encourage the villages to prosper, because they are closer to the natural resources also. Many people are ignoring this real fact. Instead, we are importing things from farther places, say from produce, right? So these are not happening in and are around the cities anymore. We have to drive down our produce at least 60, 70 miles every day. This is everyday's economy in the country. So what are we doing to the environment by driving those things, using those diesel trucks again, day in and day again, day in and day again? We are spewing carbon dioxide into the city like a fog machine, a carbon dioxide, spewing machines. So we have to think from now onwards, at least, how do we rejuvenate the Gram Swarajya, give the people there an opportunity to thrive on their own, elect right people. You know, we know all the stuff. We grew up learning from those local leaders also. There are so many stories in our knowledge, how good it was, how everything is well
No,
managed.
Prasad.
Of
So
course,
let me understand. So are you saying this for India, or would you say that this also gets applied to America and to Brazil and to Venezuela as well? Are you
anywhere.
saying that as a global
Yes,
template, or is it
yes.
specifically for India?
No, it has to be a global phenomenon. It used to be like that, but again, industrialization, so on and so forth, made us to think in a different way. So,
Okay,
see,
so essentially, you would agree that the world has deviated far away from the notion of Gram Swaraj. You would agree with
mhm,
this?
that is
Okay,
true.
so this is where the application of wave function
The
collapse
world
comes in.
understands Ram Swaraj, Chandravika. Just be very clear about one thing. What
Yeah.
Prasad has talked about is essentially his internal understanding of Ram Swaraj, which actually translates into equity in the global in the global sense, and exploitation, which is a natural intent of human beings and groups of human beings which want to corner disproportionate portions of the resources of the world. And this has replicated in different forms in different parts of the world. In India, the government has appropriated this entire resources from the hardworking
Yeah,
rural
yeah,
folk.
Sanjay. So coming to the point of Gram Swaraj, so one interpretation you have is equity, right? That is
Yes,
what you said.
Yes, yes.
Now, the
It boils
second
down to that.
interpretation
Yes.
in the development dictionary is called sufficiency economy. So, in
Mhm.
the development dictionary understood globally, Gram Swaraj also denotes sufficiency economy and not just efficiency economy. So, that is where
Yes.
the difference is.
yes,
The third
And
thing that
also,
Gram Swaraj indicates is
mhm,
localization, localized
yes,
abundance. The
yes.
fourth
and
thing that
localized power as well,
yes, yes,
localized
everything.
ability, yeah,
Yes, yes,
And
localized abundance. So,
decision
all
making,
the
yeah.
needs are fulfilled within a few kilometers of radius, daily needs particularly. The fourth thing it denotes is circular economy. So, now
that's
if you look
correct.
at it, though Gram Swaraj is not in currency, but equity, sufficiency, uh, localized abundance, and circular economy are very much in currency. So, Gram Swaraj continues to be a powerful idea. But the second point I would like to highlight in regards to Prasad's narration of how we have deviated and moved far away from the idealism of Gram
Yeah.
Swaraj is
Before you
that
say something, Sanjay ji, I would add one
yeah,
more thing.
okay,
So we talked about equity. We talked about the circularity.
Sufficiency.
Another important thing that we must add is also biodiversity. Biodiversity. These three things are very vital things for any growth, and this would improve the impact economy, not the profit economy. So this is where the change used to be. This is how we evolved, and then the industrialization changed the whole narrative of Gram Swaraj and other benefits that it was offering at that point of time. Thank you.
Yeah. So Prasad, let me now bring it closer to implementation ready. So now I would like to look at the larger patterns as such. First, we had the river-based civilizations, right? So most of the
Yes.
civilizations around the world grew around river banks. River was all a source of sustenance, also transportation, and in many other ways, it was providing the succor for those civilizations. Then we had, transportation nodes. So first the roadways came, then the railways came, then the airports came. Now again, we have digital infrastructure, global digital public infrastructure, which allows us to stay closer to our food sources, with connectivity. So we can actually go back cyclically if we channelize the digital leverage that we have today in a ethical and in a fair, equitable way. But right now, the digital leverage is in the wrong hands. And to get the digital leverage in the right hands, we need Earth Federation. Number one. Number two, we need an emergency response mechanism, which we are calling as NERA, Novel Earth Emergency Rescue Administration. Now, what I would urge both of you and your larger networks to make this effective dialogue towards, formalizing Earth Federation, which we have already declared after the 16th Provisional World Parliament. So please, if you can, spend time on the document called Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, Welcome to a New Era of Concert of Civilizations. Now, this concert of civilizations essentially is juxtaposed against Samuel Huntington's Clash of Civilizations. Though many of his ideas resonate, though his book is called Clash of Civilizations, but essentially has a longing for concert of civilizations. So we also fulfill his longing, his wish, not just of Samuel Huntington, but of billions of people around the world who all care for peace, stability, and sustainability as the common denominator of being human. And in the second part of the last email that I have shared on Trumpism vis-a-vis Nazism, how there are telltale similarities and early warning signals that cannot be ignored. I've shared Alan Savory's very important theory of lockstep that happens in the jungle, in the wilderness, that creates abundance. But our, predatory prey of superpowers weaponized is creating lots of destruction. So those are two very important constructs that need our attention, that need our serious reflection, introspection, and then, creating a shared vision, which we can then translate into a roadmap and an implementation plan. So can we, on that note, conclude in the next 10-15 minutes and then move on to the next 4 sessions in successive days and also respond on the emails on the present conversation we are having? Yes, please. Sanjay and Prasad.
Go ahead, Prasad.
Sanjay, go ahead.
You want me to go ahead? Actually, I was just doing a little bit of an analysis on how could I place the concept of wave function collapse from a totally different domain like physics into sociology and consider it as a social metaphor to find out where are these issues that would be relevant from today's world with inequity as well as the exploitation that is actually happening. Prasad, to answer your question, the Gram Sabha will never work in India, even though it has been given all the importance by Gandhis as well as put into writing by guys like Mani Shankar Iyer under the leadership of Rajiv Gandhi.
and with a sympathetic ear from both from actually Sonia Gandhi in reality. That is how she created that entire committee, which actually came out with things like MNREGA, food security, and all these particular issues that came in, which has been completely dismantled after 10 to 11 years of rubbishing by this government. Now, how do I actually see that entire collapse of that thinking is leading to this particular point is actually the inability of the good sense that prevailed over there to reach out to the people at large, because our institutions had failed us. The education system, the governance system, the policing system, everything had pretty collapsed by that particular point and was not leading to equity at all. It was leading to actually concentration of power. And that is how the governance system also that emerged and has now emerged in the rest of the world, taking the wrong cue from a society which is under dissipation, uh, going back into well-governed societies, but with their own flaws. Like for America, for example, the Western community and as well as the society was always having a superiority complex over the deep south as well as southern societies, which are actually generational empires in reality. For them, the history has evolved over 5,000 years, 3,000 years, and evolution has actually been gradual and continuous before it emerged into the model that had happened 500 years back, which got decimated by colonialism and the racist and the colonial combination that actually produced a country and a nation like America, which has got a history of just 300 to 400 years, is now, thanks to the conjuring of the wealth as well as the so-called dominance on the education and the governance system that they put in place through their Western universities, as well as the attraction that they created for the people at large in the South to diminish their own societies and come back to seek so-called knowledge back in the West, which actually resulted in the diminution of their own societies in the long term. And in the case of India, the destruction of the local governance as well as the Gram Swaraj system that you talk about so hauntingly. That Gram Swaraj system has actually been diminished, even though it is implemented and put in paper, because of the inherent hypocrisy that has been built into the society, which has now adopted a huge amount of Western value system for actually adoption in their day-to-day lives, as well as what they see as growth into the future at the cost of nature. That is how the entire process that actually builds up the Indian ethos, which is samvedana, the ability to understand each and every aspect of a situation before deciding on a decision to be taken, has now gone into the background. And this, to a certain extent, can possibly be brought back in the society through a process that is again that takes you back to the Vedic thinking that we have in place. That is the Brahma, creation, Vishnu, the management, destruction by Shiva, and then recreation. The circular economy comes into the play. So whatever these guys are now coming up with new phrases and new dogmas, etc., etc. Actually, if you do a deep research, Chandra Vikas, you also will realize, and I think you have also indicated that, is something that we have actually seen happening over the ages, and we have evolved in the entire process. To that extent, what you have brought in from the Western concept that we have as a background, being engineers from the IIT system, which again is a product of the samvedana between the Western and the Indian system that actually merged to create our generation. What I'm seeing is the current version of the wave function theory that needs to actually get implemented in society. So I will just quickly read out these points which have come out, and I will leave the discussion to actually evolve further in the remaining session that will keep on coming. Okay, I will share this document also, Vikas, on email so that you can actually start using it in the way that you want to with the rest of the people to explain your concept and bring it to focus so that action can actually be the corollary to these exercises that we are actually doing. Now, wave function collapse that I bring in from physics is as a social metaphor in quantum physics. A wave function represents many possibilities. When observed or measured, it collapses into one actual outcome. That's the reality. That's where the focus comes in. The one actual outcome we are looking for is samvedana, the ability to work together, to be able to live together at peace, in satisfaction as well as in equity. In today's world, this idea powerfully mirrors how our different societies move from potential futures that each of them creates based on their narrow thinking of the world to the chosen realities by stating that particular purpose. Now, what Vikas has done in this entire series of talks that he has created is actually trying to direct the societies, different societies that he will meet over these 7 or 6 days, and maybe he'll continue in a few more for a few more maybe a few more sessions before actual change starts kicking in. Will basically be the chosen realities that will again converge to one chosen reality that the world would agree on in their own ways, so that it is suitable for their entire region. How does it reflect the wave function collapse in today's world? There are multiple futures which will always exist because it's all there in the mind, and also the resources that we have command over. Every society carries many possible paths of cooperation or conflict, equity or inequality, sustainability or destruction. Remember, this takes us back to the basic concept of Bhagavad Gita. Dvaita operates at any given time. There is not one single truth. It always has to come in twins. That is where the twinning comes in. The Dvaita is operative. Only when the other is known can this be understood properly. Attention becomes observation. Media, public discourse, and leadership focus act like measurement. What we repeatedly discuss becomes what realizes and materializes eventually for society. The power structures collapse possibilities that arise by putting in a different view altogether. Governments, corporations, and institutions choose which options become the reality. So it will be a Trump in the US, which will create a new reality over there. It will be a Modi in India, and then subsequently whoever else comes. Or it was a Nehru in India who created the possibility that created us. It will be something else. It will be this particular guy in the last 11 years who will create the Jai Shri Ram and that entire gang of criminals that we are actually seeing to neutralize today. So, Samvedana. And that eventually, even these guys will get corrected finally when they realize that the reality is actually collaboration as well as observation, measurement, and being able to work with each other with the least amount of bloodshed and opposition as well as, angst that they actually bring onto the table. Move away from fear into love. Fear-based governance collapses towards control eventually. That is what we're seeing in India. Policies acts are acts of collapse that select one future over the others. When fear dominates, outcomes collapse into surveillance, militarization, and suppression of dissent. Are we seeing that? Compassion-based governance collapses towards harmony. So the intention is to go towards compassion, samvedana. When empathy dominates, outcomes collapse into inclusion, social welfare, peace building, understanding, love. The digital platforms accelerate this movement and collapse in either direction. It is just a tool. Remember, which direction we want to take is where the narrative tends to move. And that is why we need to actually make sure that the digital intervention that is coming in is going in the right direction. Algorithms act as observers that are shaping reality. They amplify some narratives at the cost of others and erase those. Right? We are aware of that. So, citizens are not passive. Let's remember that. Collective belief, protest, voting, art, and dialogue all observe reality into existence. They wish them into existence. They discuss them into existence. They adopt them into existence. They propagate them into existence. Unconscious living means a random collapse. Unconscious living is being selfish by being only bothered about yourself, not knowing the world at large, what is happening. And that is a surefire story that will lead to a collapse. Without awareness, society collapses into futures chosen by the few, the powerful, the ones who are willing to, who are actually trying to manipulate. Conscious living is basically indicative of planned and intentional collapse, which goes towards samvedana, which can go towards reality and improvement. And finally, awareness allows society to choose outcomes with deliberation and understanding. That is where knowledge that Prasad you mentioned, education comes into the entire picture. Let's remember, if I look at the society today, I am actually living in a phase in which the very seven social sins that the Vedas have actually warned us against have become the reality that we are actually living in today. What are these seven social sins? First, politics without principles. You see it all around you. Wealth getting generated without work, the financial economies that have come in play, right? Knowledge without character. You see, the actually it is the intelligent guys who are being tasked with maintaining a solution or maintaining a system who are destroying them internally because they know it better. Knowledge is there being exercised without character. There is science which is being exercised without humanity. What do you think this entire 2021 crisis of the virus was all about? It is actually the utilization of knowledge without character for diminishing the role of the society to actually control itself. Then commerce without morality. You look at it all over this. What is this unicorn shit, bullshit that is happening out in this world? What is the intention of today's so-called entrepreneurial class? Is it to bloody put to scam the entire world as well as leave a half-baked product into somebody else's hand and extract your so-called future incomes at the cost of the society at large? Is that what we are promoting? That is exactly what we're doing. And that is what has been blindly followed back and brought over here. Then look at the way in which religion has been treated, which was actually a reference point to bring in morality as well as stability into everyone's society. There is worship and religion, which is there without any understanding as well as without any sincerity, which is in the form of worship, right? That is worship without sincerity. And then the last one and the final ones, the pleasure without conscience. Pleasure is at the cost of others, without conscience being exercised in what is being called pleasure. So these seven ills have become the defining factor of today's society and today's leadership, which is causing all the crises that are happening around you, which essentially means existing institutions need to go into wave collapse to allow the new future to emerge. For this, I would like you to also look at something that has come out of the blue, which is the MIT UX Labs. I am a mentor for the global program that they have developed under MIT UX Labs. Chandra, I have also introduced you to them. Professor Otto Sharma. In fact, I think you should get him into one of the talks where the theory that he has developed for the emerging future of being able to collaborate and cohabit as well as work together. And also Father Edwin's story of numerocracy and sociocracy, which brings down governance to the bottom and allows right from school children to inculcate those habits of leadership and capability and understanding and critical thinking to be able to identify the problems so that they are sorted out through knowledge that is built, becomes the reality that we need to address today in this entire scenario. So let the wave function philosophy that you have developed evolve further and try to encompass all the knowledge systems that are available, which will bring in some Vedana development as well as inclusive growth into the future, is what I would like to share as a final point. I leave it to you now, Prasad. Thank you.
Beautifully exposition, Sanjay. I couldn't have said it better, or anyone I know couldn't have said it better as you have put things. Though they may sound cliche, but I think that's the essence of what human is all about, and how to create a beautiful world, harmonious, with peace, stability, and sustainability. that are points. To 7 that you mentioned, I would like to add a eighth, which is pride with humility. And just as an illustration, this uh, beautiful exposition by you wouldn't have happened if you hadn't retrieved my email from the spam folder.
True.
And
Which happened
by
again.
now
That
you
is
realize
providence
what
again.
I wanted. Yeah. And why I wanted you to be moderator, because certainly I believe you are better qualified and you have better networks. So certainly the MIT person you're mentioning, and also the various people I have gathered, including several ambassadors and people like Giorgio, who I interacted with in past several weeks. So those names are there on the email list. I've also
Yeah, I
shared
see
a
them.
brief introduction to each, and to the remaining also I will share the introductions. So now we will hear from Prasad and close this session in the next 10 minutes
Yeah, sure.
on
Thank
how Suraksha in particular can be a key enabler and catalyst in bringing peace, stability, and sustainability.
Wonderful, wonderful. This is a wonderful dialogue, Sanjay. You hit the nail on the head. And
Thank you. Thank you, Prasad.
you are very welcome.
This is
So,
the tip of the iceberg. There's much more to get to actually emerge.
right.
Let more people
So,
come on, and I think they will have their own perspective and they will explain it better.
yeah.
Maybe way better than
Uh,
what I could do.
India has its very core strength at the sustainability in the olden ages. Our system through Gurukul systems, even though it seems to be primitive, is a very highly valued thing. What happened then was we were teaching the kids the ethics, the character, not the cash thing. It never came into the picture. I mean the cash thing. So we were building the character of the nation and Rajas in those days. It goes to ancient, epics also. Ramayana said the same thing. Mahabharata said that every character, it has the depiction how they suffered through for doing a wrong thing, wrong saying, whatever it is. So there is ample examples of those things even
Prasad, that
today.
goes
Right,
back to the concept of dharma and purushartha.
right,
I mean,
dharma. It
there
is
itself,
always
in fact,
dharma.
another lovely session that Chandra could do,
Right.
which allows
It
them
is,
to
it
bring
is
back
always
into the
dharma.
concept.
That is our framework. Implementing dharma is our framework, irrespective of who you are. Raja did the same thing, peasants did the same thing. That's how it used to be. So, with this knowledge, I want to adopt the same system into Suraksha by training, through trainings. So, for now, we are a virtual Gurukul. In a way, adopting these high value system into the education, maintaining the ethos. Even if you are an entrepreneur, you figured out a good idea that seems to be very lucratively making money machine, you should be able to get back. That should be your character, because you may be making money, but you are making others to suffer and the environment to suffer. At the end of the day, your journey into making money might be a temporary thing. If the system works well, you would be shut down anyway, logically, right? So that is one part. Pushing innovation and entrepreneurship with ethics. Of course, you're not giving up your hopes. I teach there is come back to drawing table and fix the damn problem and move on, so that you are not hurting the world or even the community at large, because this is important. So let's flip the coin on the other side. You are an investor. You want any X, but again, um, be uh, be with the ethics. Be with the ethics. If you don't trust me, I will tell you a small thing. Investors obviously lose 95% of their investment anyway. My argument in that context is invest on the right things. Your risk rate would not change. At least you would look into the eyes of your children, even in the environmental protection philosophy, you can tell them proudly, you at least tried it. Forget about your loss or gain thing. Have you done your role or played your part as a responsible global citizen or not is the point. So all the struggle in many people's life is to nurture their own kids, right? If we are not good parents in that way, who are we? Rakshasas did the same thing. Do we want to do the same thing? Obviously not, right? Nobody likes to be that way. So these are all the responsible things that I'm doing. Even if you establish an industry, even if you know when you know that it is not benefiting people, at least even in the sense of environment, pull back, slow down, come back to drawing table. A, tinker. B, there is no lack of intellectuality in this world. Discuss this. Discuss this. Let's fix these problems together as a community, as brothers and sisters. And that's the core. We always tell, Sarve Jana Sukno Bhavantu. If we can't do it, who are we? Who are we? What is our existence? Is that for today's show, or shall we leave a long-lasting impression on this planet? Being an individual educated, and being an investor, being an industrialist, being a government official, being a bureaucrat. It doesn't matter what you have studied. Only thing matters is what you did after you got your education. So don't be a moron. Be uh, be participate in satsangs like this and flourish in develop your inner flourishness rather than outward things. Outward things are always, as Vedas said, are temporary. So let's make these things permanent forever and make the humanity thrive rather than our self-interest. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for so blissfully putting a concept which is called Apt Purush. So Prasad, your whole worldview would qualify very accurately as an Apt Purush. So what it essentially means is somebody who has the welfare of entire humanity in mind. Constantly. Both are important, to have the welfare of entire humanity and have it consistently throughout, through the thick and thin, through light and shadows, through challenges and opportunities. So I think you have very well answered how Suraksha can play a very powerful catalyst role and become an enabler for the front organization that essentially transforms into Earth Federation, which we are calling as NERA. And NERA essentially means water, Jal. And NERA is an acronym for Novel Earth Emergency Rescue Administration. So I would again reiterate that please go through the second part of the Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam document, Welcome to a Era of Consort of Civilizations, in which I have created a structure. I have proposed a structure in which there is an executive director for the whole world. Then there are 5 regional directors, and then there are provincial directors. In this new architecture, the whole world is reconstituted as 60 provinces, which have administrative boundaries, and the old sovereign nation state boundaries, which are essentially colonial, for most parts of the world, cease to exist. So we get rid of all these military defense budgets, and we now have a very easy and very convenient and very valuable, beneficial administrative boundaries of these 60 provinces, for each of whom we have a province director. Then we have every province, 60 provinces cover the whole world of 8 billion people. Then each province has 108 districts, and each district has a director and a emergency earth rescue administration. And it all works on a hierarchy and subsidiarity principle. We have further granularity up to the grassroots. From district to grassroots, there are again three structures. So every district has 6 zones, what are called zero waste system and localized abundance and circular economy zones. And each zone has 18 villages. So district effectively has 108 villages, which are gram, where we bring in the gram swaraj.
Yeah.
Right now,
This
every village.
this is great. Yeah,
Yes,
I'm
please.
involved in one group where we are trying to create a cluster of 5 villages as model villages.
Okay,
Implementing.
very
Yeah.
nice. So we are doing it from grassroots to global. And if you just allow me to complete the grassroots level construct. So
Sure.
then every village has 108 kutumb. This kutumb is neighborhood communities, akin to Father Edwin's neighborocracy, where we draw parallels with 30 different portfolios of different ministers and a governing council. And every kutumb has 108 individuals as members, not families, because family size may vary, but individual is always one. So now you understand that every village has 108 square members, which is around 11,400 something. Similarly, every village, every district has 108 villages, which has around 1.25 million population, which is standardized around the world, because humans have very similar needs, and the biggest source of inequity is to have very large and small structures. Even if you look at proportions in nature, they have their upper and lower limits, but in human constructs, we have violated those limits, and they no longer are appropriate for humans, neither they are human scale. And that is where, what Ranmal Jhala was pointing out, that big cities are monstrous, Frankensteins. So our cities historically never had a population more than 500,000. You can tally with the entire historic record in Vijayanagar Empire. The capital of Raja Krishnadev Rai had exactly 5 lakh uh, population in 1572, according to the global census records. And the biggest city in the world at that time was Beijing, with a population of 0.672 million. So imagine the largest city in 16th century was less than a million, much less than a million. So similarly, we have Samrangyan Shastra, the Vastu obtained from Vedic, documents, which specify the dimensions of a village to be around 7,500 acres. It is roughly around 6 kilometers by 5 kilometers dimension, with the built up in only about 280 odd acres. So essentially, the Aranyak, the forest area, is more than 90%. And yet, if we do it globally, we can have the whole world living very harmoniously in much less ecological footprint than we do today, with complete circular economy and complete biodegradability and very high biodiversity, with localized abundance and even local dialects flourishing once again. So, digital leverage, in my understanding, enables us, has brought us to a crossroads where we could either self destruct or we could regenerate to our golden era, to the peak of civilization, to our lofty ideals. So both these possibilities are, glaring at our face. We must choose what we want to be.
Yes, the choice has to be made.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. So thank you so much. We've already been here for about an hour and a half. It's been a wonderful conversation. And see the beauty, if we had more people, maybe each one of us wouldn't have got this much time to express ourselves. And at times when things are very complex, we need lots more time to understand each other than we superficially do. So
Yeah.
that brings us to another point of wave function collapse, which is that it allows us to operate from the deep simplicity. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. Good night, and see you again in the following sessions.
Thank
Right.
you
Thank
All
for
you.
the
hosting
best,
this,
everyone.
Sanjay,
Take care.
and
Thank you for that.
Chandraji. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
All the best,
Thank you.
Stevie.
Such a pleasure.
Yeah. All the best.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Take care. Bye bye.